the customer's waiting, everything's happening, and that was the moment when I looked in the mirror and I thought myself, "Oh my god, this is gonna be a terrible," because the whole company was supporting this and building machines, and there's tens of millions on the line. The leadership of a company did not even realize we had such a crisis. We've been able to sort it out. My boss knew that, but he was so calm, and this is what I really appreciate with him. And after all this project, when everything ended, I've asked him a question. I mentioned about those stairs because he was always using this. He said, "Hey Rich,
Hmm.
how many stairs did I had?" And he said, I think about 10." And I said, "And you didn't grab my hand? You didn't stop me?" He said, "Nobody could stop you at that point."
Are you human?
One, two, one, two. Welcome to another eye opening episode of Are You Human? I'm absolutely thrilled about today's guest, Marcin Bauza. Marcin is a kind of person who doesn't just talk about innovation, he lives and breathes it. He is a brilliant mind at the intersection of AI, smart manufacturing, and business strategy. He's taken corporate world by storm, transforming how companies approach technology integration and profit growth. During his time at ZEISS, Martin led teams that turned the sci-fi like concepts into real-world solutions. But Martin is not content, at least not only, with corporate success. He's now channeling his expertise into his own startup, 4MP, pushing the boundaries of what's possible in smart manufacturing. And I'm lucky to say that Martin has also recently taken advisory board role at our company, Untitled, where he helps our clients approach innovation and decision intelligence from a much smarter angle. In today's episode, we are talking about leveraging emerging tech to stay ahead in today's markets. Trust me, whether you are working in manufacturing or not, you don't want to miss it. So let's dive in. Martin, it's not so long time ago that I've seen you. I don't know about you, but since you and I, we are both Polish, I still have, after so many years, I still have this weird feeling when I speak someone with someone who is Polish in English. Do you have the same thing?
Yeah, I have this switch in my head.
Uh
So at
huh.
home, I speak Polish. My wife speaks Polish. My kids, they bilingual, and but I automatically starts when I'm in business. I speak English. And what is strange for me when I need to explain things in business wise in Polish, that's not something that is
Same.
normal. It's so automatic. At home, I'm automatically Polish. Outside, I'm automatically English. And however, like you said, when we speak in person, we speak Polish, but English is perfectly fine.
Yeah, it's international, but also so many concepts, so many things are easier and faster to explain in English.
I think so. What I also found that a lot of my technical vocabulary um, I acquired when I was in the US, and I often search for Polish word if I want to explain something in Polish, which is a technical nature. It feels like, oh, he forgot his language. No, I did not forgot. I've never learned that word because it's so specialized, and and this is something interesting, especially that I have not started learning English until I was 23.
Oh,
So
really?
it was
So when
pretty
did you move
late.
to? So for people who don't know you, would be great to understand your transition, your journey. You were raised in Poland, and then you moved to US, and you ended up working in quite high level senior roles in quite technical backgrounds. So maybe just give us a little bit of history of your professional and personal, if you wish, journey.
Sure. I was born still behind the Iron Curtain. And that was a time. And to be frankly honest, I've never imagined myself as living abroad, as
Hmm.
speaking foreign language. I started learning Russian and then German, but I never spoken those languages. It was always a very painful.
Yeah.
Um, and then when I studied at Poznan University of Technology, I had a professor who I really I seen that he can speak English. He was always talking about international research, and I realized, okay, if I would like to do more than a master degree, if I would like to do a research, I need to know English. So that
Hmm.
was a motivator. I started studying English, and one of the things that was a breakthrough in one of the summers, right when I started, um,
Hmm.
a group from US came called Bridges for Education, and they stayed with us for 3 weeks, and the purpose was to teach us English. And
Really?
amazingly, after
Okay.
3 weeks, I was able to make some level of communication. It was very broken.
Was it after or before or like without vodka?
No, no, no. It was no. There was no vodka actually in this process.
Okay.
It's
Being
which
bad.
is very no, no. It was very very nice, and I have to say that I was impressed that I can communicate with someone with different language. This is amazing. I've never thought that I could ever do this. And this was only 3 weeks, but I spent a lot of time with them, and that motivated me. Okay, let's take some more classes. Let's spend time. 3 years later, I was doing my PhD in the US.
Why did you choose US and not Britain, which is closer home, closer to home?
It's a pure coincidence. I was studying metrology, which is a science of measurement, and one of the professors he was on a bigger conference, and someone from US was a Center for Precision Metrology at UNC Charlotte was there, Professor Jay Raja, and he was looking for students to
Hmm.
join the program, and he asked me, "Do you have anybody who may be interested?" And I received that note, and back then it was okay. Yeah, sure. I can try. I already started my PhD in Poland in polymer processing, so very different field.
Oh, yeah.
And then I said fine. Then I've learned. Well, you need to pass a GRE test. Asking what is a GRE test? This was a year 2001, so there was no such thing as you go to internet and you can, find everything and search everything. This was not existing yet there, at
Yeah.
least not in my mind. And I went to a Poznan U.S. Consular asking for some information, and the lady over there was so excited. She said, "You're the first person who ever comes and asks for those books. I got those books. Please take them. This is all yours."
Ah, you made her day, or maybe a year.
Day she was like impressed that someone even cares for this stuff, and so I went to Warsaw. It was very interesting exam with cameras facing you and all the security. I passed the exam, and I got invited to study abroad. And one of the things that was still I remember, I came only 9 days before September 11th. So you're coming to US, you're starting to study, you're finding your place, and 9 days later, a big catastrophe happens,
It
and
was
you
just
start
nine
wondering.
days in,
It was nine
into your.
days, yes.
Oh, wow.
and this was very, I'll say, emotional. I was wondering, should I stay? Should I go? But I decided, let's keep going. Let's see what's going to happen. And I studied. Actually, I took a sabbatical in Poland just in case if the U.S. study doesn't follow very good. And the same in parallel, I even had um, a research grant from Polish Academy of Science, which I finished being in the US. And I was even invited to continue this, but then I had to make a decision. You go one way or the other. So I stopped the study in Poland and focused on the one in the United States. So why US? In science, it's always viewed as a place where the biggest breakthroughs happening, or at least the most frequently. Of course, every nation has a big impact on the science, but US has a very special way in terms of the resources, capabilities, etc. So that's from
That's also,
scientific perspective.
y- yeah, that's also, but there are many more of Americans compared to Poland, which is not even 40 million now. But we are doing well on the at least European arena as a nation, and we have lots of great innovations and lots of talent, which unfortunately, as you probably like, that was one of your decisions why you left. It's not properly funded and not properly mentored.
Yeah. So one of the things that US is doing very well is reduction to practice, if I can put it this way. The academia works closely with industry. When you are a PhD student, most likely you will have a project that is sponsored by the industry. So whatever you're working on, it's in general the intent that this becomes practical
Commercialized.
at some
Hmm.
point, commercialized at some point by the industry. And this makes a quite a difference versus in Poland, in general, in Europe. I'm not sure the other countries, but in Poland for sure, you have a lot of science for science. Unfortunately, there is no strong industry that can support this. That's part of the problem, and you need this cooperation. Industry understands in the US that if they want to innovate and move forward, they have to have those connections with academia, and vice versa. Academia likes to work with industry because there is a source of a purpose and novelty, etc. So this is a very good combination.
I believe that really helped you as well with all your transitions, right? Like you started with academia, then you moved into corporate, and right now you are focusing on entrepreneurship.
Actually, right after academia, I was in entrepreneurship for the 7 years, together with a few of my colleagues from study. We co-founded a company, and I was there to make the world better, creating very fine motion and measurement systems, working on the grants from NIST, National Institute of Standard and Technology, NSF, which is National Science Foundation. And during one of those grants, I have a goal to meet or to interest one of the primary providers in metrology space. So I took a phone and I started calling them, and that's how I came across ZEISS. Um, I still remember a discussion with one of the leaders over there. It was right around the crisis time. It was around 2008 or so. So when everything tanked down and nobody had any thoughts for investments,
Roles,
and I
yeah, yeah.
and I was looking for a letter of intent. Like typically, this is done when you're trying to get a grant. You get those letters of intent, and I called him and I was asking about CMM, coordinate measure machine. That's a 100,000 plus line item, and I was thinking my goal was to get the letter of intent that if everything goes, they will cooperate with us. And he says, Marcin, I can't get you a new machine. The moment he said, "I can't get you a new machine," my business head turned it on, and I said, "How about used one? I'm good with used one." And he said, "Used one, I may be able to." And I was like, I remember shocked because I finished the call and I said, "Wow, I think I got a CMM. This is unbelievable." And this is how this started with ZEISS. We have worked together for about 2 or 3 years. The project was lasting, and towards the end of the project, it was a natural um, fit. Zeiss was interested for me to joining them, and I came to the conclusion that at this stage, the startup life was not anymore fitting my needs or my interests. And I was looking for something that has more projects or more products versus what we've been doing is was more services. And that was very, I'll say, critical. So it was a smooth transition. Zeiss have created an innovation role in the US, which was very new because the entire organization was set as a sales and service. So they've been mainly focused on servicing and selling and making equipment, while all the innovation was happening in Oberkochen, Germany. So now you think about you go against the tide. Everything is there. You the only one here, and that's how the journey started.
Okay, and so then you've done many years of corporate, and quite recently you've been focusing on few selected projects.
Yeah, so I think it's a total of 12 years of corporate work. I started in North America, then I was globally responsible for various aspects of technology, and not only technology but also business. I always been connected on when you create something new, you also need to figure out how to sell it. What is the true value for the customer?
Ideally, you sell it before you start, like, working on it or putting too much of the resources.
Usually it's as it was in my group. I used to sold something that did not exist, and then we had to create this when a customer was interested. So there was always interesting dynamics. And but there was actually a really propelling forward. Yes, we've been able to achieve things that have not been possible if you would approach this the classic way. Hey, let's create something first. When we're ready, we show the world. It was just the other way. um, right now I'm working at 4MP, which is for manufacturing progress. So I'm coming back to manufacturing. After 2 years break from manufacturing world, I started having a very different view on the processes of everything that's happening over there. And one of the questions that I started asking myself, which I did ask before as well, is why the manufacturing still is set up the way how it is. What that means is you create a part in a computer, you generate a code, you send the code to a CNC machine, the machine cuts the part, and then you have to validate this part on a separate machine. And then if everything is okay, you keep going. If wrong, you start adjusting. It's a long process
And expensive.
and expensive. Yes, it requires a lot of skills, it requires a lot of coordination. And why can't you do that on a machine? And I know this question been asked many, many times, and people have been working on this. And there are some solutions merging coordinate measuring machines called CMM with the CNC, which is the computer numerically controlled machine, which is the mill or lathe or grinder. And those the problem is you can't really see geometrical and form errors, which are critical. So think about right angles, straightness, etc. Those are not possible to be measured right on this. For I'm not going to go into details why. And the solutions that have been there are fairly cumbersome, expensive because it's merging two machines, and it's not really finding its way in a commercial world. The success is if you can enable mom and pop shop of providing providing them technology they can use without really going in depth. How does it work? So, the challenge, last early fall, I started really looking into this more and more, and there was a moment when I started realizing, wow, we could do it a different way, and I started really pushing through in this direction. So that's I'm very focused to close. It's called close the loop. So make those feedbacks on the machine. So the machine of the future will be: I can recognize there is a problem, I will self correct the problem, and I will make a good part every single time without the need of a human to tell me what to do. This is the holy grail for manufacturing, and that's the direction where I'm going with the innovation topic.
It fits very well since I don't know how many years we know each other already. Like it's been 4 5, I guess, maybe 4.
Somewhere, yeah, around, yeah.
Something around, right? I met you when you were still in your previous corporate position, and we started talking about similar issues around inefficiencies, corporate inefficiency. I was trying to sell you our solution to the company you were working on, and you became interested because right now we are working together.
Let me take a step back. And one of the most important things in innovation is to trying to imagine what the world would look like some years ahead. So let's take it 10 years. And if I give you an example as an introduction here, if I would, right now we're talking through the network, we have a video. Let's say I'll take a movie today of this situation. We have this video. Let's say I have some smart device in the home, like Alexa, I can talk to, and let's add a self-driving car. If I would show you this video of today world, which is normal,
Hmm.
and I'll move it back, maybe today, 15 years, you would think it's a Hollywood. It's no way. This doesn't exist. And the world have moved significantly from the moment when a smartphone was invented. We started think completely differently how to communicate, how to do certain things. And so what's critical in innovation is to try to think, is this really how it's going to be? Is this really the 10 years from now what it's going to be? And one of the things that attracted me, so I already been working with AI. We've been doing a visual analysis or data analysis of images and 2D and 3D, and we start using some AI components. So I understand the potential of this technology very well. And when I started through my corporate career, I've seen often that one of the struggles that corporations have, there's a vast number of data in organizations. But because of the last 20 years, each of the subgroup in in company would have its own software, own
Hmm.
platform, own little
Yeah.
digital world. Some of them faster, more advanced, and the others, everything is disconnected.
Yeah.
Everything is somewhere else. And what people doing today is they trying to create now, we're going to create now big giant central place where we're going to keep all this data. And this is just unbelievable task, extremely difficult. I've been seeing or hearing up close all the problems that happening with this. People don't have time. They don't have even knowledge or expertise to help those. You hire a company. The company needs collaboration. This is a very painful process. And one of the things that I really liked about what you brought is a very different approach. Why should we create a big ocean of data so everybody can put their fishing rods and gets what they want? Why can't we have a series of ponds, a lot of them, and connect them any way we want? Do we want information from this, and this? Okay, I create those connections, and I leave those ponds alone, and this helps tremendously from many aspects. maintenance. If you have a big source of data down, the whole company's down. If I have a
Mhm.
multiple sources and one of them is down, it's only one component that's missing. So everything else is working, yes? If I need to do changing, let's say I need to make an upgrade, I'm working on a small Lego block. So Lego blocks is a great example here, yes? You have those Lego blocks, I can reinvent and restructure those Lego blocks any way I like. And if I need few extra blocks, I can make them. If I don't need some of the blocks, I take them out. But I don't have to worry about all of this. And this is how I think the future have to look like. It is impossible to create those massive data sets that sits as a one platform. This will be extremely challenging. So the modularity, I call it, or that's something that I truly believe it's the way to go. There's no other way, and people are going to learn that.
Yeah, but you are forward thinking. You see the opportunities, but uh, from from your experience, I guess you see this as well. Companies or company decision makers usually don't care. They still like to work the way they've always worked, and there's so much inefficiency when you encountered those situations. How did you make them change their mind? How did you try to push for innovation?
Um, this is always a challenge. Yes, so there's two ways of thought in a corporation. You can ask for permission, or you can ask for forgiveness. Sorry, I'm the one who asks for forgiveness. I don't ask for permission. That gets you in trouble at times, but from your perspective, you see things different than the top leader, obviously. And I had a great example in my career. We've been working on some technology, special machines, and I knew that the machine that we got it's really impractical, has a lot of problems. It was designed by optical engineers. They didn't really had in mind serviceability. They didn't had in mind how easy can be something changed, and the fact that you could replicate. So this was really a prototype. And I said we really, to be successful, we really need to start over and rebuild this machine. Of course,
Hmm.
in the corporation world, you have to have a budget, you have to have a permission, you have to have this. Well, unless you do it a slightly different. The trick is if you do your R&D within the same fiscal year and you sell what you have created in the same fiscal year, you haven't created any harm. You actually can bring a surplus to the company rather than lost money. So the fiscal year started. We started to work. I did not really tell anybody that we're doing this. And I showed my boss when machine was ready. I walked him in, and he almost fainted away
Fainted.
when he seen the machine. It was a big machine. It was a very nice looking machine, but he was almost getting a heart attack seeing this. Like, oh my god, this is gonna be bad. And the good news was, I just said, look, don't worry, I'm gonna sell it before the fiscal ends, and I did. I actually did, and the customer, I mean the corporate leadership was actually impressed with the technology, and they started supporting this, but it requires a bold steps. Majority, yeah, majority R&D is not that way. People are very lenient. They just go, okay, this is how we're gonna go, this is what we're gonna set up. You need some of the boldness in this process.
Hmm. And did you have something on paper from the potential customer whom you were like you sold it after, or was it just theoretical that if you deliver they will get it, maybe not?
I have been working with the customer, but that customer is known for changing their mind all the time.
And you still wanted to go ahead?
I wanted to go ahead not because of this customer, but because I knew that to move forward with this technology to make this successful, you have to do it. And I was willing to take the risk. I really was certain about, if I make those changes and we redesign this technology, we will it will work. And why I was so sure? Because I already worked few years in this space, and I've seen what's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
The ever growing problems in technology is that the customers um, ask you for often ask you for horses while you have a car. They don't know to ask for it. You have to think out of the box to be able to really solve their problem. But you need to be willing to take a risks. Yes, sometimes they could be painful, but if you don't do this, you're not moving forward.
True. Yet, in my perspective, working in a smaller company startup, still there's there is so much difficulty to start working, to get into corporate partnership, or any kind of projects, because that there is a saying, nobody ever got fired for hiring IBM, even though if it's not working, or it's the way they are thinking about approaching the problem is old fashioned, and there are more efficient ways.
A change is slow. I agree with you that corporations are risk averse. However, the moment when they see that something new works, they start moving there. IBM is a great company. This is no doubt about it. But there is a reason why in US there is a lot of startups that come
Hmm.
from nowhere, and suddenly they grow pretty fast. I mean, look, a lot of the very famous companies, they barely, many of them 10, 15, 20 years old, and they are ruling the world. And that's the environment. If you solving somebody's problem or creating a solution that is needed, or at least suddenly people like it, um, the business starts growing very fast. And it's a process. I fully agree. I mean, part of a reason why maybe there is a still tendency to go to those large providers,
Hmm.
because the leaderships think from a massive big platform perspective. If you have a big platform, you need a secure provider. But if you change your mindset, it's like, why do I need a big platform? I can have my small Lego sets and I just start connecting them. It changes completely the perspective and the willingness to risk, because I'm not suddenly putting a great risk. Yes. If I'm just making a connections between few blocks or few beta pools, um, it's okay. If this doesn't work, first of all, I'm not disrupting what's there, because I'm more like in a listener mode. I'm not changing the functionality of what exists. I'm just building atop of it. And this is something that I think it's very critical for for the leaders to understand. Trying this type of technologies is actually not causing a ton of risk, because there is no disruption to what you're doing. There is no moment, hey, we're going to have a power off, or we're going to have a data off, or we're going to have this, oh my god, everything went down. That doesn't work that way, because you on the side.
Yes, but one of the not obstacles, one of the excuses we hear is they don't have a workforce, they don't have enough people to attach to a new project, so they can't start anything else because they are overwhelmed with what's already there. Um, how do you respond to that?
This is because that's what is expected from them when they work on those big platforms, to have an army of people that are available and knowledgeable about this, about what's really there in a company. They don't understand that for those projects, you actually don't need all of this. Is you need those who have a vision. What truly I need to connect? What information I'm always looking for and spending my time and trying to find to make my decisions? And I get frustrated. I have to ask 10 people to get this and this and that. And it takes time. They all have to spend time calculating. Okay, think different way. Just take this very problem that you always try to solve, or every time new quarter comes or this, you want this. And just let's automate this process. Let's make this first step and do it this way. Don't overthink this. Don't try to create new solution from the ground and then you spending time on designing every single aspect. It takes forever. By the time you're done, the world already moved to the new space.
Hmm.
And your solution is already outdated. In this case, you can take a small chunk, make a say, hey, we want to make connections of this data. I want to get this information. And this will be not only proof of concept, it will be working proof of concept that you can actually use it immediately after the process starts. This is the uniqueness in all of this process. And that's where the companies don't understand. They think they have a lot of resources into this, but that's not the case. It's not as resource hungry as the classic projects.
Do you think it's due to artificial intelligence and how the approach um, to building has evolved in the recent years?
I mean, AI, of course, helps here, but it's always easier to build and control small blocks. It's much easier to make changes in those small blocks. You just maintain interfaces versus if you have a big giant construction place. And I've used this concept in building machines. I call it Lego blocks. I have the way how we approach this. It's a very similar. The way we approach this is you're building a machine in visual inspection. You're very sensitive to a size of an object. So you're imagining, oh yes, this world is needs this type of parts to be inspected. What's going to happen next? The next customer comes in, they get a different part. Oh gosh, it doesn't fit to my machine. Oh my God, now I need to develop new one. This is never ending story. How can I solve this? And then when you create all those machines, how can you make sure that the service organization can keep up with it? How can you make sure that the application organization can keep up with it? Do you need to train everybody for different machines? This is endless. This is nonsense. So we created a Lego blocks. And I say, yeah, from outside, it may be an elephant and giraffe. They may look very different. But once you open the hood, inside they look very same. This is the critical part that is really good.
Part of of why you've been so successful and you reached the C levels in your corporate career is that you've been asking so many questions, right? And people are afraid of asking questions because some of them are quite uncomfortable. But how do you stay ahead of curve, especially right now when there's so many things, as you said, so many things happening in the same time, and whether you like it or not, but with artificial intelligence, everything seems to be accelerated exponentially.
Um, I don't think it's artificial intelligence alone that causes the acceleration. I think in general, the world accelerates. You have to look at it from a different perspective. Let's say 10, 15 years ago, um, you would need to be part of a certain corporation to have access to the latest capabilities. You would need to live in the very location where the company is to do this. So this is a significant barrier for a lot of population of the planet. With the globalization and the connectivity and internet, you are right now in London. I'm in Allentown, Pennsylvania. We can communicate, we can talk without any barriers. Yes. And now you can imagine you have individuals who could be whatever they want in the world as long as they can get access to the internet and they can have access to knowledge. They can provide input. So the number of people, number of brains that are used to solve problems or that are curious about something is exponentially higher than it used to was. It used to was a selective group of people that could do that. Now, technically speaking, anybody has access to it.
But you have the other side to it, which is more noise.
Yes, there is more noise. There is a lot of information. So you have to know how to cut through this noise. Yes. However, what this does is the speed of innovation is different. I mean, look, great examples. I mean, Kodak, they invented digital photography, but they've been too busy to rape the profits of what they had.
What's worked in
And
the
then
past?
was
Yes.
Nokia. It's a great example in the cellular business in the cell phones. They just missed the boat by a year, and by the time they realized what's going on, it was done. Look at BlackBerry. This is a great example. You The BlackBerry was created because people started texting on their phones, and it was impractical to push the button 3 times to get the letter C. So you got a separate keyboard. But the moment you have a smartphone, who cares for keyboard? You have your digital version on the screen, and the entire ecosystem have flourished and grew tremendously. So all you need is those starting points, and those starting points flare significant changes, and that's what's causing this. So AI, of course, it will be one of those. There was nanotechnology, one of those as well in the past, but and there will be a lot of people think that AI is going to solve every problem. No,
No.
AI is
Yeah.
good only for certain applications. It's good in a certain way, and what you have to be very careful is you do need to have a quality data if you want to have a quality results. There is a say, junk in, junk out, no matter how good your model is. So people don't realize this. Oh, I just throw all this data there,
It will
and
get
AI
sorted
is
by
going to
itself.
sort it out.
It's so
No, it's
smart.
not going to do it. It's not going
Yeah.
to do it. So you have to understand which aspects could be used for. And there are some aspects that are obviously um, a movie worthy, very fashionable, and there are aspects that are not as interesting for general public, but it could be extremely impactful. Um, think about a good example: emotion. So in the past, the robots would be considered like this robotic movement. Yes, you have this very very strange moves. Today, with modern controls, and if you add some AI, you could get the human-like movements. A very different. You may have a same mechanism, but the movement structure, the ability how it moves, the ability how it progresses is very different. I've seen a robotic toy that all they did is they added a screen mimicking the face, and the face was basically a cartoon like from Disney movies. It was making the faces, and suddenly you have a completely different feeling about this device.
Yeah.
It's the
You
same
start
thing,
developing emotions sometimes.
but it starts creating and showing emotions on the screen. And they've done it so skillfully that it was like, wow, this is really engaging. It's not like anymore, hey, here I am. It's more like it starts showing, it starts showing us something different. And that's where AI is going to be helping to bring this natural aspects of the of how humans would do it.
Yeah, but don't you worry about how it can be misused, or people like with the example you just gave about the machine, the robot. People can start developing um, affection and some other emotions, and maybe just in some cases forgo and stop caring about the reality, the real world and the real connections, and just focus on something which won't harm, maybe not won't harm you, but won't will be programmed to be almost like a slave.
Ah, there's always a danger with every technology is that could be misused. anything around us. I mean, you can take a simple thing as a car. You sit in a car, is designed to carry a person from A to B, and there will be always some crazy person or someone at strange intent that will use a car as a weapon.
Bad actors.
This is inevitable, I think, in any uses of a technology. But that's why you do have, I think, a government in this case. It's important to set certain level of boundaries. This is how we're going to use it. Yes, think about cloning. Yes, people could be cloned. We know this, and
They
so far,
were
animals
in
being
China.
done. Yeah, but that's the because of the strong boundaries and regulations in the Western world, this didn't really happen, or at least we don't know of. And same thing's going to be with this technology. There will be a certain limits where it's going to be allowed to be done, and in my opinion, 99.999% it's going to be a good use. And yes, you will get some bad situations and probably highlighted and will be in the news, but in general life, majority will be a very positive.
So you are not worried about, kind of Terminator like scenario where intelligence learns and escapes and starts to control the world?
um, I mean, at the end of the day, the I call it, so right now we in the era of some people still, it's kind of overlapping two eras. One is the industry 4.0, where you're trying to eliminate a human completely and have machines doing everything by themselves. And there is a industry 5.0, where people realize, you know what? I don't think the machines can do everything by themselves. We actually need a human, and we need to make sure machine and human can collaborate together in a way that the machine helps human. And that's the industry 5.0, where you start thinking about this methods or interfaces or how this technology will be so much better if I bring decision points to a human so a human can make certain decisions. Sure, some of those decisions over time will be taken over by machines if those are simpler decisions. But humans still have this ability to make a very um, ad hoc decisions that machines can't. I mean, I've seen it all the time with visual inspection. So imagine I show you a surface as a human, and I ask you, without telling you, I ask you, do you think this surface is fine or there is a problem? You're going to take a look, say, oh, I don't like this. How did you know this is a problem? Somehow you look at this and you see, I don't like this dot on the surface, or I don't like this.
Because you gain so much experience, right, over the years, so you know what's good.
This is the human perception. Machine can't do that. You can tell a machine, you can show them a good parts, but it's still um, uh, sure, with proper training, etc. The machines are pretty accurate. They can get pretty far, but they don't have this ability yet. Maybe in the future to do something without much of a learning. That I just do it first time, and they will figure out if something is broken around your house. You may call somebody, or you may have, oh, I need to fix it somehow. The machine will have to be programmed to do those things.
I recently watched this interview with the scientist Francois Chalet. He used to work for Google, and he basically developed this kind of model or way of understanding intelligence within algorithms. And he says that the way we at this point we are creating the LLMs, so the ChatGPT, Claude, and all the assistants, the way they are designed and programmed right now, it won't let us arrive to AGI, which is the human level, human like intelligence, because that's what you just said, that machine is not able to, they are accurate, they can spot the mistakes or problems if they've been trained on such problems. so they can just match what they've already been seeing, what they already seen. But humans, especially when you think about kids, they come with a very basic or no knowledge about the world, but somehow they have those intrinsic, it's intelligence, right? So they can learn without previously having encountered some situation.
They usually learn because they're observing the world around, and if you have siblings that teach them bad things, that they can learn sooner or later, yes, or colleagues at school. That's how it works. But I'm thinking more. Even though we say that animals don't have a ton of intelligence, but somehow a fly or a bird or something that's born, hatched from an egg, it knows what to do.
Because they are programmed in this way. They know what to do, but they won't know anything else.
Yeah, I understand, but they don't pass the experiences. So if one learns something, they don't pass this, and that's the difference between us, that we do pass the experiences. Yes.
We can share, we can exchange the knowledge.
If we wouldn't share, so in the future, uh, can machines share information? Sure, if you treat the machines as a swarm, that you have a multiple locations of the same technology, and the technology, hey, I've learned something here, I've learned something there, you could use this. I see a huge potential in medical world, where today you go to a doctor, and you are given um, a decision, yes, based on his knowledge or her knowledge. um, but in the future, they can be aided by systems where, for example, instead of reviewing a CT imaging or reviewing ultrasound, etc., a machine can analyze in every possible direction and can tell, hey, I think there is a possibility for X, Y, and Z. And the doctor just looks and says, yeah, you're right. I agree, and confirms. So it's a more processed information. Um,
So you'll be more like a prescriptive, more than like forecasting, rather than what's right now.
Yeah, it will be knowledge of 1,000 doctors rather than one, combined together, and down selecting the very possibilities. So it will be faster way of detecting what's really happening, and faster way of curing things that what's really happening, etc.
Yeah. Yeah, at Untried, we use the term collective wisdom or tribal knowledge. That kind of, like you said, like bringing information from many different sources, written or said about from different by different people, and then understanding what's real, what's not, and what can help at the um, particular situation. But let's go back to your innovation, like perception of innovation. So many times we've been talking, and you were giving me so many different stories you had in your professional career. It shows how much of a out of the box thinker you are. um, do, do you, or like, can you recall the time when it led you to a solution which others overlooked?
It's always a good question. I'll say the need is a matter of a lot of inventions, yes. And one good example, I mean, there are some that I can't talk about, but one that I can mention, there is actually a CRP paper with realization of Industry 4.0 of high-speed CT in mass production. When you take those
Means
words,
nothing to me.
yeah, so so an explanation, when you think about 3D X-ray, which is the CT, in reality, to image a part in 3D, it takes tens of minutes. Yes, so it's not a fast process. Today, maybe faster, but in general, that's the general perception of the world, of the manufacturing world. And therefore, automatically, when you think about mass production of items like in consumer electronics, where you have a lot of them, hundreds of thousands of millions, even per day, it's
Mhm.
impossible. You take a very slow thing, and how can you do this to make a technology capable of not only inspecting selectively but doing 100% every single one. So when you see this from normal perspective, just this is mission impossible. You would need so many machines. And I had a customer, um, a leading consumer electronics OEM, and they truly had a need to do this. And we this was very interesting because, of course, a company had those machines, and there was a software well known by everybody in that world. So imagine, like, okay, if you have a PC, you need Windows, or if you have a Mac, you need iOS. And suddenly, we're doing analysis, and through some experiments, I came to a conclusion that the machine's fine, but the software is the one that is the limiting factor. People normally don't think that way. They say, oh no, software is the thing. The machine's too slow. No, is fine. I can do things. It's very stable. I have to think the way I have to completely change the way how we think about the data processing and the software and what it's going to be doing. So we've run some experiments and completely changed everything on the software side. And I've made the same piece of hardware 1,000 times faster.
That's a good result for for your leadership.
And it was not moving like 1,000 times faster or anything. Hardware was working the way how it was intended. But the way
Mm.
how we started doing everything else, it enabled us to significantly increase the throughput, and while maintaining the accuracy that's needed. And at top of it, we completely automated the process. So a person without any knowledge whatsoever about CT or technology, um, they could load the parts, and there was only one button: close the door, only because the customer wanted. And everything
Mhm.
was happening automatically. Machine would automatically image, automatically select parts that had problems, automatically find the situations, and present the results, and segregate the parts. And this was a true innovation, but not like sometimes people think you have to go and dig from the very beginning. Yes, that's why
Yeah.
what I see a lot of similarities with Untried. You're not trying to create a new data sources. You're just trying to you what you're doing is you approaching this from a different point of view. Why
Mhm.
should we go always the same path like we've been doing in the past 20 years? Yes, this was good in the last 20 years, but it is very different now.
Yes, we do. We both agree that leaders usually ignore the fact that things could be done better. But I guess that the reason why this is happening is because they don't have right data literacy, and they don't understand what's possible.
I would agree with you. I mean, part of a problem is that you have the more senior leaders you have, the more maybe unsure they feel with the latest technology. I mean, you don't have to go to corporations to know this. I mean, with kids, yes. People always amazed, oh, my child is only a few years old and they already figure out how to do it. That's the challenge, yes.
Yeah.
As we progress, the younger generation is born with the technology, and they understand, they think differently. Companies in general, I mean, humans don't like change. We like new things, but we don't like disruption. Yes, and what always amazes me when you go to companies and they say, "Yeah, we have been doing this for so many years and it worked." And my answer to this is that's the first reason why we should look into this, because you've been doing this already for so many years, and the progress is happening. And it's always the philosophy or the thought process that when you're investing in new changes, it takes time for companies to learn how to make money on something. So they don't want to be in a constant loop of spending unbelievable amount of money to really to now revamp again, because spending is one thing, then you have to train people, then you have to do this. It's like a constant problem.
Yeah.
So now you added AI at top of it, and a lot of companies or leaders are are really nervous because they
Hmm.
wondering, how do we want to use this AI? How is our company going to survive with all of this? Because now this is going to be really challenging, and
Yeah.
they think about those changes, especially with the data side, that those are big monstrous projects. And
Hmm.
that's where I mentioned already before, what I liked about Untried is you do this in a very different way. You don't need this giant construction space. So companies should not be afraid to try, because it's not going to turn their life upside down. It's designed for taking small bites. It's designed to make them work right away. And this is the level of thinking that has to be um, enabled in organizations to see, okay, we had the era where the big changes, because think about their experiences, yes, just going through from one pay system to another pay system. There's probably a lot of people with gray hair in every company that just had to go through this. And this was so nerve wracking and so difficult and so challenging.
And many of them don't work there anymore, so you just don't know. You don't want to touch it.
Yeah, you don't want to touch it. You don't know what's really going on, and they afraid. And that's I think the most important part is to understand, I'm not touching your systems. I'm not disrupting your work. I'm not making your life harder. I will just add on a separate service that is connecting you, maintaining everything have you done, but you can now move gradually and steps. You can decide which group takes the first step, which group is start using the first benefits, which is next one, etc. And I think this also helps to alleviate the risk or reduce the risk significantly, but also reduce the worry that, oh my God, this is just, it's going to be a big, it's not strategic decision anymore. We're not talking about completely overhauling the basis of a company. We're talking to add on. So this is more like, you know, you bought a computer. Okay, that's your major decision. Now I need to get a mouse. Okay, this is, nobody cares. I mean, it's your preference. That's the level of decision you have to make. Don't worry, we're not going to touch your big system. We just we're just adding a certain things around to make it much easier to operate with.
Yeah, but I guess also why people may be reluctant to using any like new cutting edge technology is that they feel they will be redundant, because the way we do our work right now changed compared to how we've done it 50 years or 100 years ago, and there is more and more areas which computers can do. So maybe part of the reluctance is this, that they like people don't know what skills or what areas of work will be left for them. What do you find which makes us uniquely human, and which computers, machines will never ever be able, or maybe not never say never, but will not be able to do for quite some time?
Uh, I'll approach this question a little bit differently. Look at the history. There's always a fear that, oh my God, now those jobs are gone, and what are we going to be doing? Go 100 years back and think about agriculture. Significant percentage of humans have been working in the fields during the spring and especially harvesting time. Yes, I still remember as a child that, oh my God, now is this season or this season, and farmers needed so many hands to help them. Okay, that was changed with all the machinery. Today, you may have a farmer, and if they have the newest equipment, he can be sitting at home, and his tractor will be going on the field based on the GPS and doing this by itself. Did it make a revolution that people suddenly lost the jobs? No, they moved to different jobs. Think about simple. We're talking corporations. Okay, let's go. Computers came on board. In the past, you had many typists, people been typing on the typewriters. This is gone. Okay, I can do on a computer many more documents. I can redact the same document. I don't have to retype the document, etc. Did it make a change? No. In manufacturing, you had unbelievable number of people who've been doing drawings by hand, every part, every cross section of the part. I remember in some organizations, you walk in and you see these endless tables of a lot of drafters to making those drawings. Okay, computer came in, CAD systems came in. All those people moved to different jobs. And you still hear there's the lowest levels unemployment. And you still can't find skilled people. You can't find any people to work. And we always worry about, oh my God, we're gonna now make another change. For the last 100 years, it was a constant move from one step to another, and people adopted and new jobs showed up. Think about just with a smartphone. You have apps, you have all those. Somebody have to be doing this. Those jobs did not exist at 10 years ago. So new technology, new innovation brings a new potentials for new jobs, new types of jobs. Yes, the old ones will be gone, but there was always a new ones that showing in. So it's a constant reinventing of the job market.
So, how people can make sure that they learn the right skills to stay relevant on the job market?
I'll say it's always is important to do what you like to do, and you're gonna understand what
I like to
skills you
type
need.
right on the typing machine, and what's then?
You can still type right on the computer, and this will be fine. I mean, that's of course some of those activities become more like a hobby. Yes, people have old cars. The old cars, nobody sells them anymore, but there's a plenty hobbyists that will renovate them and rebuild, and they have a
Hmm.
great pride of this. So this becomes a more a hobby
Collectible.
rather than a job. But it's nobody knows the answer, to be frankly honest, because everything is changing all the time. Some people might say, oh, it's only software. Yeah, but software is the one thing, but at the end of the day, we need to eat food, we need to dress, we need to grab devices. This is physical, it has to exist
Hmm.
somehow. So there is always the hybrid and combination. There may be a hype about some aspects, but the simplest thing, I mean, you have a house, you have electrical system at home, it has to work. Yes, otherwise none of your devices will plug in. So you have to have those basic skills,
Hmm.
those specialized skills in electricity, etc., to put together. So
Yeah.
I truly believe that there always will be a combination of all those skill sets that will fit the society, and everybody will find what they need. It's just they always diverse.
You mentioned hype. How do you distinguish between true innovation and hype?
With every innovation, there is I'll put it this way: if there is a hype, it means that people start thinking about it. What can we do? How can I apply this here, and there? And and then and then things settle down. You have a lot of interesting ideas, and some of them move forward, some of them not. AI is not the first and not the last hype that is happening. Is one of when I was a student, it was nanotechnology. If you didn't use the word
Hmm.
nano in something, it would not matter, and it starts becoming ridiculous because people who've been using 10,000 nanometers still been calling nanotechnology, and as long as you could reduce to this and had nothing to do with small size. And even chemists came to conclusion we are also nanotechnologists, and we call it bucket technology. Hey, without this is how it works. Yes, it's a mass process of nano chemical reactions that are happening, but it's in the mass scale. But they started saying, yeah, we nano too. But the intention at the beginning was we think about small, tiny devices or small
Yeah.
tolerances, etc. And it starts going this way. And I think it's the same thing's going to be with AI. People will be looking to add. I don't care how important this component is. I want to make sure that I can tell my customers that there is AI in my device, or AI was used
Mhm.
to help design this device, or AI was used to make produce this, just for sake of marketing. And that's probably part of the part of the hype.
Completely agree. I read so many papers showing how startups or companies which include AI, powered by AI, in their marketing materials, raise more funds.
I can imagine this. You just look at the boards where venture capitals meeting and what kind of topics they're looking for. AI is
Yeah.
one of them, and they want. I want to invest my money in AI because they want to tell each other, "I invested in AI. I don't know what it is. I don't understand, but it is AI. Maybe not going to that far, but it is. Those things are needed because it also revives the cycle. It
Mm-hmm.
creates acceleration with everything else around. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It reinvents things that you thought that maybe this is the end. This is, I mean, let's use example in the kitchen. What is basic things? You have a stove where you can cook something. You have a fridge, and few maybe other devices. And you say, what else can I do? But today, you can get a device that it will be telling you step by step what to do, how to put things together. It will be verifying that you put a proper amount of liquid or solids, etc. And at the end of the day, it provides you a meal, restaurant style meal, beautifully done, and all of this is just guided through, and the device may look like everything else, but the outcome is very different because it enables a person has a zero skills in cooking to create a very decent meal, and that's new.
That's new, but it's also double-edged sword, because if this person doesn't have any skills in cooking, immediately you are taking away the opportunity for this person to go through pain of burning stuff and learning to cook and maybe finding joy in it. I don't know. What do you think about it?
There are some
You
people
just
that
want to
like to.
eat.
Great majority of people like to have a food and eat, and they don't have a time to experiment. They don't want to. It maybe some do. I mean, it's always this is about us. Yes, some people will enjoy walking in the mountains. Some people will enjoy going to the beach, and it's just the personal preferences. And but we all need to eat, and we all like to eat, and the better the food, the more enjoyable it is.
Sure, but it's about giving the chance for the person to fail and learn.
They always can learn. They always can do it without nobody's pushing them. Hey, you have to start using this device, or you have to start using that device. The
Hmm.
reinvention of the processes where you can you can inject more ingenuity or more technology, more intellect into the devices that imagine you put a cake today. Hey, I'm setting up at this temperature, and this has to go for so long. But
Hmm.
if the oven looks at this, it will adjust the temperature as needed to make sure that the cake comes right every single time. You don't want to do it.
Mm.
You want to make sure that at the end of the day, the result is good.
Yeah.
It's repeatable.
Yeah, I still remember the time I was small, when I had this heating thing. I had aquarium. I had many beautiful fish, and I had this heater, and it was just turning on and off. It didn't have any intelligence. So one day, I don't know, it stopped functioning properly, and it just boiled all the fish. And I wonder, with a little bit of intelligence, it would know that after reaching a certain level, at least if it cannot function properly, it should turn off.
That's a thermostat. I think it was
Thermostat,
right there.
yes, that was the word.
Maybe
Thank you.
maybe your thermostat broke. That is always
Yes.
a possibility. But yeah, but you're absolutely right that when you add some level of intelligence to the devices around surrounding us, you
Hmm.
will you will get much easier input. Yes.
Yeah.
A great example is smoke detectors. You think it's like who cares for smoke detectors? Yes, and years back, someone redesigned them, and they made them cool. The way how you open this, and instead of a chirping noise that the battery runs out, and it's very unfrequent. You have no idea where it is, and may start in the middle of the night. Now you have a message on your phone: hey, your battery runs out in this device in this location. Or the device will tell you through the others, because they connect to say, hey, I'm running out of a battery and I'm located in the kitchen. And it makes a simple thing.
Yes. I still It makes a huge difference. I remember when I was a student and I was living with, I was sharing a flat with few flatmates in London, and I remember it was always turning on in the middle of the night,
Yeah.
and you just didn't know which one was it.
Yes, and you're running around and you have no idea, and you're standing in front of it, and it's like simple stuff like this. And this is a good example of showing how adding some level of intelligence to the existing device. The function didn't change. It still does the same job. It's just the text is smoke, but it added extra layers of functionality that makes a very very different impact. And
Mhm.
that's the beauty, and this is where I see a ton of potential with AI, that we can look at the everyday use devices, everyday use everyday things that we do, that it can help us to do this better. And that's where we going back with the loop into the organizations. Yes, why
Mhm.
do I need to wait several days, or someone always tells me, no, I know this would be great to be able to connect this data, it would be great to give you this report, but I don't have time, we're so busy with this. There is a joke. This one is a good, and this really explains, in my opinion, the thinking process in the corporations.
Okay.
Imagine there's a construction site, and a manager stands and he sees he's one of the guys runs with a wheelbarrow, empty
Mhm.
wheelbarrow, back and forth.
Yeah.
And he's finally got a little bit irritated and said, why are you running with the empty wheelbarrow back and forth? And he said, because there's so much work, there is no time to load it up.
Good one.
This is how it feels today. People are so
Mhm.
busy with trying to create those monstrous platforms that they have no time for anything and no time for thinking.
No time to
Instead of
creating.
just
Yeah,
take a
creative
step
thinking.
back,
Mhm.
why are you doing all of this? Can't you make this much easier? And hey, I'll help you connect this and this. Wow, it works. This is the level of change that technologies like yours are bringing in.
Yes, but there are so many people involved. No one wants to take responsibility if something goes wrong.
There's always a risk. Yes, you have those early. That's why you have in the business early adopters and followers.
Mm.
You have to talk to early adopters. The early adopters are the ones who are willing to take risks. They're willing to do experimenting, and there is a reason why they're successful. And there are followers who see, okay, this works. I can do that. It's the same thing like with everyday life. Yes,
Yeah.
somebody will be the tester, and somebody will be willing to bear the consequences, and somebody not. The other word for those is lighthouse customers. Yes, the
Mm.
first ones that willing to take a risk. Why they taking the risk? Because they see that the potential of benefits is so great that it way overpowers the risks levels. And again, I believe that the risks levels are actually pretty low with this approach, because if I'm only connecting selective Lego blocks, and I'm working only on the selective Lego blocks, there is no chance for blackout in a company, or I say data blackout.
Yeah.
And if something doesn't work with one block, it's a very small risk rather than having the whole platform.
You have in your like professional career, you've had lots of successes. So maybe for you it was just easier to jump on a new opportunity and take a risk. But so many people, even if they feel that there is something um, to it, that they could raise a new idea or just challenge the status quo, maybe they have this imposter syndrome in a way, because they feel like they don't know enough, or they don't have you know wealth of experience and success behind them. And like, how do you overcome this?
This is a hard question because I somebody said in the past that I don't have fear. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, everybody has a certain level of fear, yes, but I always operate in a way. I don't like to please people. I like to solve problems, and even if solving the problem may cost me some deterioration on my end, I still will do it because I believe those are the right decisions, and this is how we make progress. Sometimes um, uh, it's a smooth process. If you don't try, you're not going
Mm-hmm.
to learn. If if you have organization that they have only successes and no failures, that means they don't try hard enough. That means they go on a safe line. That means they don't really understand what is the progress. There's no such thing as insurance. Oh yeah, this is going to be always perfect. No, sure you need to control the risk. I built quite a few teams, and I really believe in empowerment. I believe the micromanagement is one of the things that will. It's killing intelligence. It's killing people's engagement. It just makes them a robots, and
Mm-hmm.
you truly have to empower them. And one of the I read a book, don't remember the title, but there was a very good sentence. What's the difference between the great managers and the managers? Um, the great managers will make the mistake only once. It tells you you can make a mistake, but learn from it. Don't
Mm-hmm.
repeat the same mistake. So people have to be able to make mistakes. And
Yeah.
very often, as leaders, if you have people reporting to you and they often think that the leader has to make decisions. Yes, it depends. There is a certain level of decisions, and you have to expect those decisions from your team. So my way of working was, um, if someone came and asked me for a decision, my first question was, I understand you just want to know my opinion because you will make the decision. And why? Because you are much closer to this problem than I am. So you will
Mm-hmm.
make much better decision. If you have some doubts or you want to discuss it, perfect. I'm here to help. But don't ask me to make decision for you. This is your responsibility, and I want you to use it because that's the only way. But what if it's wrong? I said, then we all bear the consequences,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how you have to approach it. And maybe a different analogy. I One of my former bosses. His name Rich Knable. He was probably one of the best boss ever, and
Mm-hmm.
he had a very good say. Um, when you see analogy said, when you see a child crawling towards the steps, and there are maybe two steps padded with carpet, you probably let them figure it out. But if you see like a flight of 15 steps down, you're going to grab their hand, and that's how you need to approach the business side or when you work with teams. If you think they're going towards a cliff, grab their hand and discuss this with them. But if there is some a potential trouble and they may get a little bit, bruised here and there, that's okay. That's fine. But you also have to understand this is how you make your organization stronger and your organization truly innovative because people are not afraid to try.
Mm-hmm. But what if, like you mentioned, the leaders are not so close, or like managers are not so close to the problem? What if they don't understand the influence, the scope of potential failure?
One of the biggest challenges in innovation or introduction of new technologies, you have to be able to internally sell this. The organization, there is no such thing that people just take things face value. You have to find the reasons why this will help or not. You have to be able to convey this to a certain degree, so the leaders can make um, a decision. So let's try. Let's make a next step.
And so, how, apart from letting people try and fail and in experiment, how else do you think businesses can stay competitive?
Try to imagine the world in 10 years and try to imagine how you would be serving that world. And then take a step back and say, okay, to get there, those are the steps that we have to take. And we are on a step number X. And every year we have to make a certain upgrades. And what's most important is observe the world how it's changing, because you may not be lucky to predict this properly. There will be twists and turns, and adjust the road and make adjustments. Don't be afraid to make those changes, especially in R&D settings. Often people say, oh, what's our plan for this year? This fiscal, we're going to do X, Y, and Z. Well, make sure you revise this every now and then, so you're not working on something that is absolutely not needed. Yes,
Or obsolete already? Hmm.
obsolete. It may, at the beginning of a year, it could be a great thing to do, but in the middle of a year, it may be obsolete. And that's the watching of the technology, and being progressive, being relevant. If you're not solving a customer's problems or somebody's problems, if you're not helping them, you becoming irrelevant. So your product have to solve somebody's problem. The customer is not coming and buying your stuff because they want it. They have a problem
Hmm.
they need to solve, and it happens to be that your products are the ones that are helping them to do it.
It's very inspiring and very hopeful that when people are seeing opportunities, they should just go for it, and maybe they, by listening to stories of like successful stories, maybe it gives them more like perspective of how big their impact can be. But there is this other side of the medal, which is failure. And I think you think that too. Failure can teach us much more in certain situations. So I guess my ask: how do you think about failure, and was there any particular one with which taught you a valuable lesson?
I always approach this from a perspective, failure is not an option. So if you fail, there must be a solution to it. Yes, and I mentioned early on about this a big project we had, and we need to create a software. And one of the key elements of it, there was a different method of detecting some situations in the data.
Hmm.
And we've run some tests. This was great, and then software engineers started working on it. We are 2 months in the project, and engineers are we testing the code, and I realized the data looks really good. I was
Hmm.
impressed, and then I started worried. I said, "This data looks too good," and then I realized that the engineers, without telling us, have made some changes in the code.
Oh no.
In a goodwill, they thought this would be improving, and yes, the data looks very stable, but they lost sensitivity. Therefore,
Oh.
we stopped seeing the problem that we're supposed to see. And the customer's waiting, everything's happening. And that was the moment when I looked in the mirror and I thought myself, oh my God, this is going to be a terrible, because the whole company was supporting this and building machines, and it's tens of millions on the line, and reputation of organization and everything. This was very, very challenging. Yeah, we had some elevated voices in the discussion in the conference room with everybody. But then I said, okay, let's divide us into three groups. Let's not stay home. Think about it at home, and three different engineers, including the one that made the changes.
Mhm.
And let's meet on Monday.
Couldn't they just roll back to the previous version?
No, this was not about the version. It was about think about this was the basics in the code, in the math code, the solution. How you calculate something is the basic formula was changed. And suddenly when you roll back, it looks like the formula doesn't work the way how you want it. So it totally changed the all the premises that we assumed did not work. So we brainstormed a few more ideas how to do it. And in 3 days, literally, we completely changed the formula how we're going to do it, and we got it back on track. And we so from customer perspective, they did not even realize this was this moment. The leadership of a
Hmm.
company did not even realize we had such a crisis. We've been able to sort it out. My boss knew that, and but he was so calm, and this is what I really appreciate with him. And after all this project, when everything ended, I've asked him a question. I mentioned about those stairs because he was always using this. He said, "Hey, Rich,
Mhm.
how many stairs did I had?" And he said, I think about 10." And I said, "And you didn't grab my hand? You didn't stop me?" He said, "Nobody could stop you at that point." So that also was showing how trustworthy he was on the side when you have a leader who enables you to do things. He empowers the organization
Mhm.
is, and that creates a great success. And that's this is so this was at one point it was a significant failure, but then it was turned
Turning to
around,
success.
and it was turned into success. But it wasn't easy. It was many turning points around this project, but I have to say we've been able to finish the line.
Amazing. Yeah. So you see, with perseverance, you managed to get where you wanted. Okay. I guess with anything you are working right now, it will be a success. It sounds like you just have a set mind to it, and you love to solve problems. So like what's the most exciting problem you are solving right now, and where people, when they start looking into your work after this episode, uh, what will they find?
Beside helping Untried with the business side or strategy on data topics and silo connections, I'm focusing on the manufacturing. This was very good for me that I had about 2 years a break from manufacturing world. So I did my entire career, my study, my startup, my corporate world, and then I had a 2 years break when I moved to a different corporation that was completely different business, completely different
Hmm.
problems. And when I finished this, I started asking myself, okay, what I want to do, what really makes me happy, and I like the engineering side. I like the R&D side of the manufacturing, and I started asking myself why we are still so inefficient in all this process. You have computers, you have more and more software, and we still can't break the ceiling. It's still the same story. Parts design, the machine makes them, there are problems, you have to correct them, and it's a long loop. And you need skills which are missing those days. More and more people retiring with those skills, you can't really solve it. So I really came up with a new method for closing the loop right on the CNC machine. And at first, I thought, okay, this is not going to work. This is going to be crazy. So I started poking around, and I started looking, asking some of the trusty resources, can you take a look at this? Is this really, am I delusional? Is this going to work? And they said, no, I think you may be on something.
Hmm.
So I filed patent applications, and I started working with government agencies. And I had already a number of meetings, and same question: uh, do you believe is novel? And the answer was, I do believe it's novel, and they're very interested to work together. So in the process of getting to a next stage, to have a support. I actually have tomorrow a call with a first potential customer who,
No, that's
again,
nice.
the story comes back.
Fingers crossed.
Marcin has ability to sell things that don't exist yet, but I do know what it's going to be and how it is.
Yeah.
And if you have a big enough problem and you have a potential risk takers, they are willing to take a look into this. So I'm propelled by this
Hmm.
motion that I truly believe this will completely change how the manufacturing works. So it will change the way you won't need those super high end mechanical systems to be able to create highly accurate parts. You will be able to achieve this with less sophisticated systems, and you will be able to upgrade actually existing technologies to make them better. And that was done in the past. A good example is digital scales. You would take old mills or lathes, and you would add a digital scales as a feedback, and suddenly the very old machine became a much better system and more accurate. So this have happened in the past. So
Nice.
yeah, that's pretty exciting.
Yes, sounds like. And I would wish you luck, but I think you don't need it because when you feel like the way you describe, the way you talk about it is, and also the experience you have, which is behind all this, shows that this has to it has to work because it has lots of potential, and it has you, person who believes in it, and you will find a way. If it's not left, or if it's not this angle, you will find a way to make it work. So I really keep my fingers crossed for you, but I think you will do just as good without any luck wishing.
Everyone needs some level of luck, but you really need a teams. You need the right people.
Yes,
You need a collaboration with groups. Nobody ever does anything by themselves. So
true.
that's the part that it's always critical. And so far, in this new project, I'm stepping across the right organizations and the right people, and they're getting excited. So we'll see where it gets us.
That's what you need. You just need to create momentum and off you go. Martin, I am very, very happy not only for this conversation, but mainly for the fact that we've met personally as well, and I get to work with you because I learn so much from you, and I'm sure those who will listen to this episode will get inspired and will want to implement some of those methodologies and the ways how you perceive and approach problems. Mm, and yeah, I am very, very thankful, so thank you.
I appreciate Camila. It's a quite a journey. I have to say I really enjoy the new adventures or challenges, and always pushes me to think about stuff differently, from different
Mhm.
angle. And what I've learned in one field, I can apply in another field, and that has a lot of positive consequences. So, but yeah, it's again, I'm looking forward for more collaboration
For
and
more of our
uh,
successes.
our successes, and I'm pretty sure that it's just a matter of time when people start realizing, don't work hard, work smart. And that's how I see what you're doing in the digital
And that's how
world
I see you,
is.
what you're doing.
Thank you, appreciate.
Thank you.